Hello, Gators. This is Dr. Joseph Cunningham. I direct the Writing and Reading Center here at UHD. And today I want to talk about how you can use the Writing and Reading Center in conjunction with your history course here at UHD. So I'll talk about the Writing and Reading Center briefly, and then I'll provide you with some tips and strategies as it pertains to writing history papers that you can then subsequently bring in to the WRC and have them workshopped with a tutor. Let's get started, shall we? So the Writing and Reading Center, the WRC, we help hundreds of students every year with their writing assignments. Our highly trained tutoring staff is like, they're the stars of the show, so to speak. Basically, when you schedule an appointment in the Writing and Reading Center, you have access to this wonderful team of writing experts that are committed to your success. And they help hundreds of students every year with their courses. Writing is a continuous challenge. So one way to always improve is to work with somebody who knows a lot about writing. And that would be a writing tutor. It's like a really important resource, particularly as you get out of like the composition sequence. Like you may have taken English 1301, 1302. Afterwards, you don't tend to obtain like a lot of writing training at university. And even in like a history course where there's a lot of writing being done, a lot of course sort of like discussion and lecture is focused on content. But writing is like this like meta skill that touches every academic discipline, particularly history. And working with a writing tutor at the WRC is like a great way to improve that skill set as you're also mastering historical like knowledge and that skill set as well. So how does it work? And what are the services? Well, we offer appointments in our space, which is one main building, room N925, and in Zoom currently. A lot of this information, by the way, can be found on our website, which is uhd.edu/WRC. So a lot of this information is there. Our hours are Monday through Thursday, 9 to 7 p.m., and Friday, Saturday, 9 to 3. So morning, noon, night, weekends, you can access writing assistance every hour on the hour, once per day. And again, you can meet with a writing tutor in our office, one main building, room N925, or in Zoom. You can elect either or. Anytime you sign up for an appointment, that secures you a time, and then you can designate or select, hey, I want this to occur in Zoom, I want this to occur in like a face-to-face format. Basically how it works is more often than not, you're gonna have a draft of your writing in hand. The more complete that it is, the better, but it doesn't have to be complete. You can bring in, a couple pages, you can bring in a page, you can bring in a paragraph. And the tutor's gonna look at it, ask you some questions about it, and then it's going to analyze it with you line by line. So it helps you improve the document in hand, but it also helps you improve your understanding of the writing process and the writing skills necessary to be successful in this assignment. So that's basically how it works. It's a really powerful service. Basically, it enables you to collaborate with a highly skilled writing expert who is invested in your success here at UHD in this history course and can basically help you develop your writing practice to thus, get an A on your paper and your class, which is always great. But also for future assignments, you're going to learn some like skills to apply to those future assignments as well. So that's how it works. I would encourage you, schedule appointments, schedule them early, schedule them often. We typically book up like pretty quickly, like same day. So you want to try the best that you can to schedule like a day or two in advance. You schedule appointments via EAB Navigate, just like you would an advising appointment or appointment at like the Gator Success Center or any of the other just like UHD resources that you can schedule through Navigate. the Writing and Reading Center is there as well. You could also schedule an appointment at the Math Center, which I also oversee. So it's a great way to just schedule. It's a one-stop shop, effectively, to schedule appointments. Schedule an appointment and Navigate for the Writing Center for this history class. We also have a tutoring Dropbox. So if you have like a solid draft and you're like, hey, I got some time, I want like just a quick review. If you upload to our tutoring Dropbox, which is clearly marked on the website, basically it's an online form. Within 48 business hours, one of our tutors looks at it, analyzes it, and provides like an audio sort of an audio recording of feedback, basically their thoughts on how you can improve this document. So it's a really handy, convenient service to access. I would encourage you to meet with a tutor, either in person or in Zoom. That dialogue is like the real magic of tutoring. So do that. But like the tutoring Dropbox is there if you want something like convenient, I suppose. So those are our services. Morning, noon, night, weekends, access writing consultants once per day, if necessary, for this class and any others. But I want to talk about history, if I may, and writing history papers. You're going to have like a signature assignment where you're doing a lot of writing. A couple things to really think about. Writing for history is different than writing for like English 1301 or 1302. A lot of similarities. If there were like a Venn diagram, they would overlap. There'd be a big like intersection. But then like there are still some unique things to think about when you write history paper. One, like ensure that you have a strong thesis and that your thesis is debatable. This is like one of the crucial things about writing history papers that I think a lot of students make mistakes with. A lot of students understand history papers like, I'm just going to report on some facts, some historical events, and I'm just going to report on them like a book report. Don't do that, friend. That's bad. You should still often broach an argument that is debatable, right? You're going to use historical information and research to reinforce your arguments, but at the end of the day, you're still writing an argumentative thesis about a topic. It's very rare in university for you to basically have a question like, write everything you know about, World War II. But instead, they'll ask you to write like an analysis or an argumentative sort of paper that sort of broaches or advances your own sort of idea about, a historical event or happening. Second point, source integration, very important. Properly integrate sources, both paraphrases and direct quotations within the essay and cite them. You're going to use like research to reinforce those arguments. So ensure that they're like properly integrated, added into your paper, right? And then significance is crucial. This is like the thing that I think a lot of students miss. At a college level, you're not just reporting, but you're analyzing why and how these things sort of like shape the course of history. So oftentimes it's not enough to just like provide like a historical, read like a Wikipedia on a historical event and then just put that in your own words. That's not good enough. But instead you want to analyze like why is this like important and why this took place and why did it happen the way that it did and what were some of the factors at play. It's all about significance. I have an example of a historical sort of argumentative paragraph that I'd like to like read with you and analyze if I may. So, the history of technology illustrates that the great inventor argument is not always true. So right off the bat, I've made an argument that you can sort of debate, that you can agree with it or you can disagree with it. We tend to celebrate people like Edison, Jobs, and Musk, but the history behind great inventions shows that these marvels are the product of countless unnamed individuals. So now I've explained my argument a bit. As professor of history, Martin Forbes argues in Historical Materialism and Technology, technological progress is the work of everyday people making incremental discoveries over the course of several years that in sum produce movements of innovation. So this is my quotation. It reinforces my argument. And notice that the first bit, I'm providing some context about who this person is that I'm citing, the work that I'm citing. So try to do that in the future. Don't just drop a quote in the paper. And the quote's not that long, which I think is also important to sort of communicate. When you're, again, using outside research, you don't need a block quote. Sometimes just keep it short, simple, to the point. This is literally a sentence, right? Forbes shows the underlying tension between narrative and reality. So now I'm reflecting on the quote, which I think is also an important thing to keep in mind. A lot of students will just pop a quote in there and then that's that. They checked off a box. I got my quote in, but engage with the quote, even if it's something as simple as did you hear that? That this quote is saying this idea that corresponds with my belief. While the media lauds Steve Jobs as a once-in-a-generation genius, these cultural stories obscure the invisible hand of Apple engineers that made the iPhone a reality. So it's this is an example of my argument, right? So that's a historical sort of paragraph, right? It advances an argument. It has a quotation in the middle. It engages with the quote. The only other thing I would encourage you to think about is think about my verb usage here. I have illustrates, argues, shows, lauds, obscure. These are it's nice to have active verbs. This is my fist shaking it because it's active. Have active verbs. Don't rely too heavily on helping verbs is and are. I mean, they're perfectly fine. I use is here and are here. It's okay. But utilize active verbs when you can. It really punches up your writing. So that's an example of a historical paragraph. The Writing and Reading Center can help you write paragraphs like this, probably even better ones, right? But think about this as you're, broaching these, I don't know why I'm always using broach, as you're working with these historical essays this term, your signature assignment, et cetera, et cetera. Schedule an appointment for this course or any course that has a strong writing component, and visit our website to learn more. If you ever have questions about the Writing Center, writing in general, writing for history, UHD, the meaning of life, you can email me, your pal Joseph at cunninghamj@uhd.edu. I love working with students. It's my favorite part of my job. I love working with my tutors here who are incredible, but I want to see you as well. So feel free to swing by. We can talk, we can chat about writing. But I'm here as a resource for you to access as somebody who works for the university who's invested in your success. That's all I got for you. Good luck this term in your history class. Happy writing. Take care.